You ever get your paycheck, you see money disappear, and you wonder, what in the world is this, like, Social Security thing, this other tax thing, and why do I even pay it? Or maybe you heard whispers of that old Boston Tea Party, and you thought, wait a second, didn't they dump a bunch of tea in the ocean over taxes? Well, today we're going to pull the curtain back on taxes. We're going to uncover the surprisingly rebellious past. We're going to see how they've changed, and we're going to explain why they're not just a deduction on your paycheck, but the very foundation of the world we live in. It's money moves that your mama missed. What's up? I'm Jonah here from the Banking Bros, and let's face it, taxes can feel like a confusing, unavoidable mystery. But understanding taxes isn't just about dreading April 15th. It's actually about understanding how our society functions, what your money actually does, and how to navigate your own financial life with confidence. So let's dive headfirst into the fascinating and sometimes fiery world of taxes. At its core, a tax is a compulsory financial contribution levied by a government on individuals or businesses. So you can kind of think of this as your mandatory contribution to the collective good. But my question for you is, why in the world is it compulsory? Governments need money to operate. It's as simple as that. And they provide services that benefit everyone, or so they say. Services that individuals couldn't effectively provide on their own. So here's what I mean. Imagine if every streetlight, every fire truck, every school, every bridge, every national defense system had to be privately funded by individual donations. It would probably be pretty chaotic and pretty incredibly inefficient. So taxes fund what we call public goods and services. So these are things like infrastructure and roads and bridges and airports and public transportation and public safety and police and fire departments and emergency services and education and public schools and universities and libraries and healthcare and social programs and Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and public health initiatives and national defense and hey, I can keep going, right? Parks, clean water, air quality regulations. Essentially, taxes are the price we pay for a civilized, functioning society. They allow us to pool our resources to achieve things far greater than any one of us could accomplish alone. So, for a second here, let's put on our history hats. Taxes aren't a new invention. In fact, the history of the United States is basically tied into taxes at its very origin. So you've got to cast your mind, you've got to think all the way back to colonial America. The very spark of the American Revolution was ignited by, drumroll please, taxes. The British Parliament imposed various taxes on colonies. The Stamp Act on legal documents and newspapers, the Townshend Acts on imported goods like glass and tea. The colonists, of course, weren't necessarily against taxes themselves, but they were against taxation without representation. They were paying taxes to a government that they didn't have any voice in. So after they gained independence, the early US government was actually quite hesitant to implement direct taxes on its citizens. For many years, the primary source of federal revenue were actually tariffs, which are just taxes on imported goods, and then excise taxes as well, which are taxes on specific things like whiskey. So you might have heard of something called the Whiskey Rebellion. That was back in the late 1700s. It was a direct protest against one of those excise taxes, specific taxes on whiskey. Income tax, as we know it today, was actually a temporary measure, first introduced during the Civil War to help fund the Union effort. It was a flat tax initially. Then it became slightly graduated, meaning higher earners paid a higher percentage. But it was repealed shortly after the war ended. Temporary, like I said. The idea of a federal income tax popped up again in the late 1800s, but it was deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court at the time. Maybe it should stay there. The big shift came in 1913 when they changed or ratified the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, and this gave Congress the clear power to levy an income tax on individuals and corporations from whatever source derived, that is the actual language. This marked the true beginning of our modern income tax system. Why? Why then? The country was growing. It needed more revenue for expanding government services, and there was a societal push for a more progressive system where wealthier individuals contributed more. And then World War I and then World War II further amplified the need for money, right? So all of a sudden you saw significantly higher tax rates and the introduction of payroll withholding in the 1940s. And what I mean is employers started taking taxes directly from your paycheck. Until then, it was voluntary at the end of the year. Now, again, you were supposed to do it, but they weren't coming to get it directly. This made tax collection way more efficient for the government, but kind of mandatory for all of us. So what does this historical journey mean for your wallet today, your money today? Our tax system is actually way more complex than just a simple tariff. You actually pay a lot, many different kinds of taxes, and a lot of times you might pay them without even realizing it. Here are the main types of taxes that you will run into, that you are running into today. One, income tax. This is a big one. Most people think of federal income tax on your earnings, but then most states have income tax too. Our federal system is progressive, meaning higher earners pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes. We have different tax brackets, so only a portion of your income that falls into the higher tax bracket is actually taxed at that higher rate. But then you've got payroll taxes. These are automatically withheld from your paycheck, and they fund specific programs like Social Security and Medicare. These are often split between you and your employer. So you pay some payroll, they pay some payroll tax. Then you've got sales tax. Everybody knows this one. This is just added onto the price of most goods and services you buy. It varies state by state, even city and county. 5 states right now have no sales tax at all. Then you've got property tax. So if you own home or land, you'll pay property taxes, usually to the local government. So property taxes generally fund schools, police, fire department. Then you've got excise taxes. These are taxes on specific goods and services. So gasoline, tobacco, alcohol, airline tickets. They're often called sin taxes when you're applied to things like tobacco and alcohol. And they call them that because they're trying to discourage those certain behaviors, or they're using those taxes specifically to fund other things. If you're an investor, you probably understand capital gains tax. If you sell an asset like stocks or real estate for a profit, that profit is probably subject to capital gains tax. The rate depends on how long you owned the asset. Here's what many people don't actually realize. You can influence your taxes. If you understand deduction and credits, that's key. Here's what deductions are. They reduce your taxable income. The less income you have, the less tax you owe. Examples of this could be like traditional retirement accounts have some deductions in there, student loan interest, medical expenses, stuff like that. Then there's tax credits. Tax credits are even better than deductions. A tax credit directly reduces the amount of tax you owe dollar for dollar. So literally, if you have a $1,000 tax credit, it means you owe $1,000 less in taxes. It does not matter how much money you made. So an example of this is the child tax credit or the education credit. And this is why it's really important to understand tax planning. It's not tax planning to just avoid taxes, and it's not tax planning to say, that's more than my fair share. It's not that. It's to ensure that you're not paying more than you legally owe. And a little knowledge here can actually save you a lot of money. So the next time you see that tax deduction on your paycheck or that extra percentage on your sales receipt, remember how we got here. From colonists rebelling against unfair taxation to the Civil War's temporary income tax to the modern multi-phase system that we have today. Taxes have evolved to meet the needs of a growing, complex society. They are the collective investment we make in our shared future, funding the roads we drive on, the schools we learn in, the safety nets that protect us, and the very stability of our nation. Understanding taxes isn't just about fiscal responsibility, it's about the civic awareness and knowing how to contribute to the fabric of society. So while a portion of your earnings will always contribute to the public services that benefit us all, understanding strategies like we teach on our channel, our save and spend system, it can reveal powerful ways to grow and utilize your money in a tax-advantaged environment, ensuring that not every dollar you earn or invest or grow is immediately subject to the same income tax. So this can really allow your wealth to compound more efficiently over time. Of course, if you're interested in learning more, you've just got to check out our website, bankingbros.com. The link's going to be located in the video descriptions. While taxes can be complex, taking the time to learn the basics, to track your earnings, to understand your deductions, to understand your credits will empower you. You go from wondering where your money went to understanding exactly where it's going and why it matters. If you learned something new about taxes today, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really helps us on our channel. You can subscribe, of course, to the Banking Bros channel. You'll get a lot of financial deep dives, and if you'd like, ring that notification bell, right? So you'll be notified anytime we put out a video. I think that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your money. So until next time, stay financially informed.
Tuned to the Banking Bros, said we couldn't make it, 3 cup setup, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.